Welcome to the Simpler Business Podcast, where we talk about ways to do what you love and serve your people in a way that brings you income and freedom. I'm your host, Marissa Roberts. Join me as I chat with my favorite entrepreneurs about how they simplify their biz so that you can simplify yours. Ready to stop reacting to the things that pop up and start working on the things that will move your business forward? Whether you're going from one client to-do list to another, cramming in tasks between meetings, wondering where you'll fit in your own content and marketing work for your business, or trying to balance work and home life and feeling like your family's schedule is always throwing a wrench in your plans, the juggle is real and we are burning out as a result. Your mental load is too heavy to handle, you don't have time to get everything done, and it's stunting your business growth. That hamster wheel feeling like you're running and running, but you never get anywhere, you are not alone in feeling like that. And when you love what you do and you love your family, then you get the guilt on top of it too. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't make this work? I'm good at this stuff. Well, this episode is for you if that's how you're feeling right now. There is an easier way, and my guest today is going to show you how to do it. Cara Chace is a productivity and business mentor and creator of the Theme Day Planning Method, and it's a game changer for your business. She lives her passion, showing women how to navigate life priorities while building a business they love, and helps them map out their ideal work week and get laser focused on their priorities so they can pull themselves away from overwhelm. Cara has been balancing her aversion to rules and bosses with the need for structure since 2013, when she had her first child and took on the role of social media manager for the band Megadeth and their 13 million online fans. That's huge. And after realizing that being a work from home entrepreneur was the best fit for her life, she built a digital marketing agency from scratch, had another kid, navigated constantly shifting priorities, moving houses and life demands, and made it her mission to work better, live well with systems, workflows, and boundaries as an entrepreneur to help her get the right things done while still living life the way she wants to. If you're looking to create a simple, easy structure to plan and grow your business with time for rest and actual weekends off, Cara is the person you go to. She introduced me to the concept of no meeting days a little while ago, and immediately it felt like the pressure was lifted. Such a simple concept, such a great result from actioning it, and I'm really excited for her to share it with you today. So, Cara, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with this about, we're going to cut that.
It's going to be amazing. We have that in common, that need to kind of cut through the stuff that feels overwhelming, cut through the stuff that makes us busy but not productive, kind of, stop doing the work that kind of becomes procrastination.
Yeah, I call them junk food tasks.
Yes, that is the perfect way to think about it. And I think we all know what that feels like to have that, right? And to get to the end of a day and go, wow, I felt busy all day, but actually if I look back, nothing got done. No results.
I'm exhausted and I'm not really sure what I did that was important.
Yes. And the juggle is real. The mental load is real, trying to balance everything and kind of that feeling like we have to be, what is it, like a duck or a swan that floats on the pond and they're so serene up the top, but their legs are going like that.
Right?
Yeah.
I think there's two reasons for that. And they're both equally as important and worth looking at. So the first reason we feel like we have to be super busy all the time is because that's what we're told we're supposed to do.
Yes.
Right. So whether it is being busy in school or your first job, or, even down to like if you had a teenage job in a restaurant, right? And every spare second you were supposed to be doing something and never like just standing there, which I kind of get that, but that's how we're trained to be.
Yeah.
The other side of this is, if you're a work from home entrepreneur, or really any entrepreneur, you're passionate about what you do and you have so many ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to sift and sort and choose, right? something that is really important to you or feels like a really creative endeavor or a project, it might not be something you can squeeze in right now, even though you really, really, really want to. So that whole, why are we so busy? I think it's both. I think we're told we're supposed to be that way. And as entrepreneurs, we're naturally that way because of our creative passions.
That makes so much sense. So that's why we try and cram it all in, because it's not that we want to feel busy and overwhelmed. We don't want to be exhausted, but we just feel like if I don't try this, I've got my FOMO, my fear of missing out coming in. Like, what if this one thing or this next thing is the thing that skyrockets the business and I don't do it? That sort of feeling. And, when you said that about your first job and that whole there's no stopping and pausing.
There's no downtime.
Exactly. I remember my very first job when I was a teenager. That's when I learned the phrase, if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean. And that was just instilled here and has never gone away.
Right. Exactly. So it's really kind of obvious when you think about it, why we feel that. And FOMO is a whole nother level of that. And I think that happens when we're not comfortable with our own expertise or our own skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely another layer on top of the just stay busy thing.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And I think I feel better too knowing that I don't feel better knowing that other people struggle with it too, but I feel better that I'm not alone in experiencing that struggle, because there's nothing worse than feeling like everybody else is miles ahead of you and you're the one stuck where you are. Actually, no, we all have, I'm 10 plus years in the business now, and I still have moments where I feel like, hang on a second, I've gone completely off track with my goals because I've been distracted by so many bright, shiny objects. And then I'm feeling like I'm not on top of everything. And that's after a lot of experience. So I can understand if people are in their first 1 to 5 years of the business, this is a big thing that comes up for them again and again and again, and feeling like everybody else owns their time instead of them owning their time. That's a big one, I think.
I think, yes. And we're kind of all aware at this point, cognitively speaking, this is what social media does to us, is you see everybody else's highlight reels, all of that kind of stuff. Like, we know that, but it doesn't stop that gut feeling when you're in the scroll hole of doom and you're seeing all of this stuff that is really just making you feel not good enough. You're still going to have that gut reaction, even if logically, this is, the tip of the iceberg for what their life really is. And who knows what is real and what isn't.
Yeah.
So there is a difference between what we know and how we still react. And the reacting goes back to what you said about, like, everybody else owns my time except for me. There's the shift that you have to make if you're going to survive mentally and emotionally as a work from home entrepreneur, where you shift from being reactive to proactive in your business, which kind of speaks to what we're talking about today with some good boundaries.
Yeah. And I love the concept of boundaries, that kind of shift from I'm setting a boundary to force other people to do what I say. I kind of feel like that's very difficult. You can't control other people. But when you set a boundary around your own time and your own activities, that's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it was very easy for me to implement basic boundaries when I first started my business, because I had a very young child, one child. So there was some basic, like, the evening is family time and I'm not available. And I don't work on the weekends, even though I often ended up in the early years working on the weekends. I wasn't answerable to clients on the weekends. There's a difference.
Not externally available. Yeah.
Right. So it's almost, you throw your kids under the bus. You use them as an excuse for, like, starting those basic boundaries or whatever it is you have going on. That's like I'm not available for this because of these reasons in my life that everybody can know and understand. Even if you don't have kids, you understand that you ask any parent to get on a meeting between 4 and 7 p.m., it's not likely going to happen.
It's going to happen. No way.
Yeah. So, and then, it gradually moves from here's these external reasons in my life to this is how I work best.
Yes.
And the benefit for both you and the client for knowing how you work best is they're also getting the best of you.
Yeah. Their results.
And yeah, they're getting your best energy and your best time. And you're taking care of yourself in a way that you need to. So I don't know if you want to dive into no meeting days and how I do that and why. And
oh, totally. I remember we were in a group chat a couple of weeks ago, and when you mentioned no meeting days, I just took that and ran with it just completely. I was like, I'm going to give that a go. And already in just a couple of weeks, I have so much more balance in my business. And I'm somebody who only works a couple of hours a day anyway. So I was like, how much could this really improve? It was amazing. Amazing.
It's a total shift. So it started because I realized I needed to implement some systems to eliminate context switching because I had a very limited time, still have a very limited time during the day as well, because of all the other buckets I have to fill in my life and want to fill. So I realized I needed to implement some structures for less context switching. So that is how theme day planning method got started. But really the whole meeting days was purely selfish in I wanted at least 1 or 2 days a week where I could not get dressed and put on makeup and make sure my hair looked kind of decent. And I'm also more of an introvert. I'm an INFJ. So I'm one of those, like, I can be an extrovert, but I regroup and I re-energize by time to myself.
Yeah, recharge.
So I knew after a few years in business that when I had weeks where I had a meeting or two every single day, I was exhausted because at some point during the day, I had to be on.
Yes.
And not having any days where I had no meetings didn't give me a chance to regroup with my business and kind of have that really like calm, quiet back office time. You can kind of imagine yourself in like yoga pants with your slippers and a messy bun and no makeup with your lights off and a candle burning and just that quiet. I have to have that. And it took a couple of years of not having that for me to realize, no, this is really important for me to show up in the best way for my business and for my clients. Yeah. So now Mondays and Fridays for me are no meeting days. And it's been that way for years. And it's one of the few things about my schedule that has not changed because we now have 2 children. We've moved back in school, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But the no meeting days, there's rare exception, but it's pretty much set in stone. And it gives me that bookend on the week to kind of ease into my week. Mondays are my favorite creative time. If you're a mom of littles and they go out of the house for school, you know that feeling of like, my house is quiet and it's mine again.
Yes.
So I look forward to Monday mornings because it's my most creative time. My house is quiet. It's just kind of a lovely way for me to ease into the week. And then Friday is I call it my CEO time. That is the day where I am doing budgeting and bookkeeping and I'm looking at stats and I'm doing a weekly review and I'm planning the next week. And I also volunteer in my oldest child's classroom on Friday afternoons because that is a huge priority for me. So having my meetings available only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday really lets me manage my energy and my time in the best way for me.
Yes, I love that. And I think you're right. If you have a no meeting Monday, it sets the vibration for the whole week going forward because your very first working day of the week is something you're looking forward to, something you enjoy. And I think the more you have yourself in that mental space of calm and cozy and enjoying what you do, you're not frazzled at the start of the week. And I think that feeds into the rest of the days then too, because you begin.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. So how do you make sure then that nobody wants to book a meeting? Do you use technology for that, like a booking system, or do you have like a response that you give people if they like call you and want your time? How do you kind of set it up so that you don't have to keep saying no, 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 no?
Yeah. So I make it really easy with using a booking call scheduler. I use Acuity. There's also Calendly. There's a whole bunch of software out there. So I go in and I set up my availability. And it's really only for a few hours, those 3 days during the week, because I have the bookends of kids and family for the day. So it's really easy when somebody wants to book a call or I'm working with a client to just send them my booking link and they find a time that works for them. So that kind of eliminates the whole back and forth and can you do this or that or whatever.
So
Make
good.
it easy on yourself and just like, here's when I'm available.
And
just go from there. Yeah.
That helps too with positioning you as kind of one of your industry leaders too. Like the little happy side effect there is that people know that you're not a beck and call sort of entrepreneur. So it kind of gives you that standing that you're looking for anyway as your business grows, because we've got to move out of that I'm working for my business feeling and move into that I'm running my business feeling. And I think that little tweak can make a big difference.
That little tweak is something I was actually talking to my husband about it the other day, and it matches perfectly with the client relationship. So I've moved from, after a couple of not great clients, which we have all had them, right? I don't work for clients. I work with clients.
Yes. That little
They are partnering with me based on my skills, knowledge, and experience. And those are the best client service relationships. I am in service to them. I am helping them. I want to work with them, but I do not work for them.
I love that. So the technology supports you. So you don't have to worry about, oh, if I set this boundary, I'm going to lose clients because I'm not available. Because to them, they don't know what you're doing on that no meeting day anyway. And they never actually ask, do they?
No. And I think most people are kind of wise to, some of those boundaries that maybe weren't so obvious until a couple of years ago. I think with quarantine and everything that happened and kids being at home, I think many people were forced to create boundaries that they had never considered or thought of before.
Yeah.
I, came upon those earlier than 2020, just from being a work from home mom and entrepreneur. But I think people are a little more understanding of that now. But for me, if I had somebody that was in that client inquiry, vibe check meeting stage, and they weren't understanding of that, then they're not my client. Like that's an easy one.
Yep. That's such a good way to think about it. And that leads me to my next point too. I'm like, is there a mindset part of it as well? Like one of the things that I would think is, okay, so if I'm having like a no meeting day or a no external visible work day and I'm just doing things internally, what about even like friends and family? If they're like, oh, Marissa's not working that day, she can babysit. Marissa's not working that day, she can blah, blah, blah. Like part of it is like my mindset is like, oh, but what if people think I'm free, but I'm not free? And then I have to try and make them understand that just because I'm not rushing around doing work things, I'm still working.
So it's an interesting conversation around, is it your job to make them understand? Because what you're looking for is acceptance and you're looking for their permission because you hope to explain it well enough to where they give you permission.
That's the people pleaser thing coming in.
And I know this because I am a recovering people pleaser, right? So I know exactly how that feels. And the reality is, and I'm not telling you to be rude and tell people to pound sand and all of that. But there's no one else living your life and you're responsible for your experience and your boundaries. And when you get resentful of other people pushing your boundaries, that's a whole nother conversation about, whether it's you need to work on your boundaries, or whether that's somebody that is a great relationship to have in whatever that relationship is. So as far as people thinking I'm available when I'm really not, for me, it's as simple as I'm not available.
And you don't have to explain why. Yeah.
No, you can if you want to, but be mindful of am I telling them this because I want to get understanding and their permission? Or am I just telling them this because I have no problem saying, oh, I'm actually working on batching my blogs that day. I don't have time to meet for coffee.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think with theme day planning, then it sounds like it's really helpful in terms of letting go of some stuff on some days, but also making sure there is a place for the important things on other days. So do you mind diving into other examples of what you could kind of plug into a theme day for us? Like you said batching just then, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. Have a batching day or.
Yeah. So I think for me, I have limited brain cells, limited energy. I want to make as few decisions as possible.
Yes.
So, because that decision-making fatigue is real. You know, you look at your one-page dump list of to-dos, and if you have to figure out what's supposed to happen tomorrow and what's it's exhausting. Brain fatigue, decision fatigue, analysis paralysis, all of those buzzwordy phrases are very real, and they sap our energy and they take away our best creativity juice. So you have to decide in your business, what are the major buckets of things that you do? So that's going to look a little different for everyone. If you have a client-based service business, you might have 2 whole days that are dedicated to client and anything related to client admin work, like reporting or analytics or deliverables or meetings or, whatever it is. If you're I don't want to say just, but if you are just a content creator and you're selling products and, all of that kind of stuff, you might have 2 full days dedicated to product creation or marketing relating to what you're doing. So you have to really think about how you spend the most time in your business. And then you dedicate days as far as the themes to whatever those are. Now, that does not mean that you won't be doing other stuff during the day, right? Things come up, or, every day you probably have to check your email, even if you're really good with boundaries and you only check it once a day or whatever it is. They're all always going to be things that are little to-dos, like the junk food tasks throughout the day that you have to manage. Yeah. But when you have focused blocks of time, and I don't mean time blocking sets you up for failure because it always takes longer than you think it's going to take you.
Yeah.
But when you have okay, Mondays are no meeting days for me. I know that that's my best creative time. So those Mondays are the days where I like to write blogs or caption content for any social media marketing posts, or come up with Twitter threads, or, whatever it is that I'm doing. And I know that from 9 to 11 or 11:30, I'm going to have a nice big chunk of time to where anything on my to-do list that falls under creation goes there.
Ooh.
So you're sifting and sorting, essentially. So I have this big, long, to-do list, and, all the way down, there's 5 different things that are client related. Okay. Those are all going to go on Tuesday. It's a sifting and sorting into buckets, essentially, so that you eliminate as much context switching as possible. And you literally get more done in less time, because you're not flipping around and reacting and 50 tabs open and all the things. You do the similar tasks together in the chunks of time that you have allowed in your schedule.
I love that, because we do lose a lot of time bouncing around trying to get our brain to focus on this and then focus on that and then focus on that. Whereas if we have a whole day that's dedicated to just one focus, different tasks within the focus, but the one focus, it's like your brain continues along that thought pattern.
You get in that flow that everybody seeks, right? The flow state of I am in writing mode. And if you're a writer, when you reach that tipping point of you're just in it and you're going and everything is flowing the way it needs to, and you lose track of time and all of that. if you are having to interrupt that for client meetings
Mhm.
or responding to Instagram DMs or whatever it is, you're going to lose all of that that you've built up and practiced. So theme days, essentially the principle is it's not restrictive like time blocking. I found that to never work, at least for me.
Mm.
But it gives you enough structure to stay on task, but enough flexibility to allow for life happening.
Yeah. And I can already think of a few different ways you could apply it in different businesses. Like if your whole business is just service-based client work and then a little bit of marketing so that you can bring in new clients, you could have
Right.
Mondays for one client, Tuesdays for another client, so that you can get into the zone and speak in their tone. Like for social media managers, for example, if they're bouncing from client to client on the same day, the tone of what they sound like doesn't match the client that they're working for. Whereas if they're dedicated to one client at a time, I'm so excited I just hit my microphone. If they're dedicated to one client on that day, it would flow in a way that sounds like that client. So you're going to get a better outcome, better results from your creative process anyway, I think. So, yeah.
I think boundaries are good for everyone involved in that work client relationship.
Yes. Yeah. It really does. Yeah. It takes the pressure off you, gives them a better result. Yeah. That's so much better. Okay. I love that. Okay. So for our listeners who are like, yes, theme day planning sounds good and they want to take a step further into it, where can they find out more? What's the easiest way for them to dive in deeper?
Yeah. So you can go on my website at carachace.com. Everything I have is there for anyone who wants to poke around. And my name is spelled differently. It's CARACHACE.com.
Nice.
And what I'd recommend starting with is actually my free newsletter. It's called the Sunday Inspo email. Comes out every Sunday. And I shoot off 3 tips to work better and 3 tips to live well every single week. And it's just a really fun, it's my favorite thing to do because I'm finding all of these fun, useful tips and hacks and resources for people who want to do more in less time so they can get back to doing the things they love in their life.
Oh, I love that. I love how you cover the practical tools and resources, but also the mindset side of things so that you've got that good balance either way. And it's kind of like you start the week off on the right foot then.
Yes. I mean, I think every woman that is listening can understand and feel the idea of going into your office or whatever space you have at home Monday morning with a quiet house in your slippers and a cup of coffee or tea, the lights off and a candle going, and just getting into your most creative headspace. It is absolutely glorious. So why not make that a practice and a habit?
Yeah, I love that cozy factor. I love that feeling like, and the better you feel, the more flow you get into and the easier it is to do it. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our listeners are going to be really excited to jump in and give this a go and are probably already kind of thinking in the back of their brain about what can I add to a theme day? What can I take out of other days? So this has been very inspiring, Cara. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's been so fun. I'm going to leave a link to the show notes to your newsletter. And also what's your best social media? Instagram, is that the best one for people to find you on if they want to comment or chat in the DMs or anything like that?
Yep. Instagram is good. And I'm just at Cara Chace everywhere.
Yay. Nice and easy. All right. I'll make sure we've got links to your resource, your Instagram and your website in the show notes so that people can find you nice and easy and get started making their work week a little more aligned with their life and their purpose and their business. And we're all going to have an amazing year.
Yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. If you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have loved having it, please let us know. Come and chat with us on Instagram. Leave a review in Apple Podcasts. And I think you can even rate the show in Spotify now, which is very exciting. And I'm really keen to find out, are these the topics that you want to know more about? Is there a particular topic that we haven't covered yet that you're dying to make easier in some way? If so, make sure you let me know and I will see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Simpler Business Podcast. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to make it nice and easy for you, just the way we like it. If you're ready to simplify and scale your business, you can get started with my free audio class at marissaroberts.com. See you next time.